Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10 on this beautiful Saturday preseason day. Got my man Quinten on. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's going on?
Just elated with that game. I mean, with the players, they're from the rookies to the veterans that we brought in that we got to see today. I I'm happy. The defense was I think the most exciting for me because it's been so long since we've had a solid defensive line. Chris Jones looked great. I mean, he's looked rejuvenated because he's got help. Karlaftis all over the place, Nick Bolton all over the place, Willie Gay all over the place. Then you got, um, man, my mind's not working right now. What's his name kicking a field goal?
Justin Reed.
Justin Reed kicking a field goal. I'm like, this is back what they used to be. Fun guys, fun team, a fun team to play. A fun team that wants to play together. That's what I see. What about you?
I agree with what a lot of what you're saying. I think the defensive line just looked spectacular, especially in those first couple series when the Bears had their first team out and the Chiefs had their first team out.
Yeah.
We saw Chris Jones get back there on that first drive and got a sack, and it's just so good to see him get back out there on that second defensive drive. Frank Clark, he didn't get the sack, but he was right there. The
Yeah.
quarterback just threw the ball away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was right there, and man, he looked so good running out there.
Yeah.
And even, later in the game, Colin Saunders was literally running down a running back.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was chasing a running back. We're talking about like a 300-pound man running
Yeah.
after what's supposed to be like the most athletic position on the offense.
Well, I got to tell you,
Um,
he's extremely athletic. He did a backflip on the
yeah.
field.
Oh, yeah.
That's
He's a beast.
yeah. For somebody that size to be able to do a backflip, I mean, that's pretty amazing. It's about 330 pounds, so that's
Yeah.
not easy to do for a guy his size.
Karloftis, I'm some stuff I like to see. Some of the stuff I didn't really like about what I saw. He got that sack and he used a swim move on there, so that was good to see.
Yeah.
I saw most of the time he was just trying to like power rush
Yeah.
the left tackle. That kind of worries me a little. I'm not gonna lie. I don't mean to be the Debbie Downer, but just to see him almost 100% use a power move through that whole game, that kind of worries me because he's still relatively new to the game. He just started playing when he was in high school, instead of most guys have been playing their whole lives. So to see him really focus on that power move, I hope that he doesn't fall into this. I'm just going to use the power move because I'm used to being stronger than everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's probably what part of it is that he's used to playing against guys that he could just, overpower.
right, and I hope he doesn't fall down that hole of I can just power my way through this. You know, I think that to see him get the sack with the speed move or the swim move is good, and we know that he's been working at training camp and absorbing stuff like a sponge. Nobody has had anything bad to say about it, but
Yeah.
I definitely am going to keep an eye on, what he does when he's not being productive on the field.
I agree with you. You know, I don't know that we've had a defensive line that strong. I don't really remember the last time we had a defensive line that strong, other than the DJ years, Um, and I don't even think they were that.
Quality in the middle.
Yeah, it was just the domination was there. You can see it, and honestly, our offense, I wasn't worried. Like, most people were so worried about how our offense was going to turn out. We were going to be crap because of, Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes is going to regress. I've heard that. Who's he going to throw to now? I mean, he still hit Kelsey. He hit Sky Moore. He hit, who else was out there that he nailed? That one to, who caught that ball?
Well, he hit Michael Burton early, which was just
Yeah.
fun to see. And
Yeah.
then what was that? Bell that he hit and for the touchdown?
Yeah, but there's one in the middle where he rolled out, and it might have been.
Oh, what was it? Oh, I
It
know
was
what you're talking
MVS.
about.
It was MVS.
Yeah, because he did another no look.
Yeah, and NVS instinctively knew where to go. And that tells me that they have been working extremely hard with Mahomes because he's an unorthodox quarterback. And I mean, you can say what you want, he is. He's very accurate when he's unorthodox, but he's unorthodox compared to most quarterbacks that guys play with, especially wide receivers. So for him to be able to instinctively find that open spot and make sure he was open and snag that ball, to me shows so much improvement and so much work put in. We're not going to, I'll put it this way. We're not going to miss Tyreek nearly as much as he's going to miss us. I'm just going to
Yeah.
say that.
It was like a knife through butter. This offense was.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just moving down the field and pretty much doing whatever they wanted. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah,
was
and
just
that's a
really,
good defense. That's not a bad defense there. That's
no.
the thing. Their starting defense is strong. We're supposed to be ranked somewhere in the top tens. So I think their defensive line was ranked pretty high too. Not as high as us because we're number one, or off, as far as our offensive line is concerned, they're not number one, but they're ranked, their defensive line's ranked pretty high. So I did have, I mean, look, the running back situation is going to have to be rectified. We know that. I think now some of this is going to on Rojo's part. I understand he wasn't playing with the first team offensive line. I get that. Wasn't even really playing with the second team, but he wasn't good. CEH wasn't good. I'm sorry, but they just weren't. Gore wasn't good. You got 3 running backs right there that didn't really play to their potential. And they have to make a move. I mean, honestly, your best player out as far as a running back was concerned, you know who he is, Pacheco.
Yeah.
He looked really good.
Not only did he looked really good in the run game and in the pass game, and that's exciting to see. I will say that he was almost not patient enough. Like he was like hitting his reads too fast. And I think that might just be, you're a rookie, you've got the jitters.
Yeah.
So I would like to see him sort of just take a deep breath and then get ready to hit the holes. So that's something I'm going to watch next week is how much does he trust and that offensive line and then hit the hole.
Yeah.
Because it almost like he saw it and hit it too quickly. You need to take a second before you make that jump. That would be something I would say he needs to, watch on film this week before we go to Washington.
I agree with that. One thing I would say is though, is I don't know how much time he had with the first team versus the second or third, but that could just also be jitters and also be the fact that he may have not had a lot of time in camp with them yet with the first team to see how they operate and to be able to get his timing down. But he reminds me of Kareem Hunt. He does. He reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt, just a little bit faster and maybe a little bit stronger, but his tendencies are Kareem Hunt tendencies.
He's like, and he weighs, before on the broadcast, they were saying he weighs like 215. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how big he was.
Yeah, he's big. He's a big guy. And he's fast.
Right.
I mean,
well, usually when you hear, they talk a lot about somebody's speed, it's usually because they're more of a scat back. But
yeah,
he does not have the physique of one.
no, definitely does not. He shined today. He definitely made his case for the 53. That I'll say that.
He absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps him that Ronald Jones looks so bad.
Yeah.
There was like 4 or 5 runs in a row where Ronald Jones just got stuffed with the line and he didn't do anything with it.
I think he got a total of 4 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
And what really hurt him a lot is his screw up and pass coverage.
Yeah.
And he missed that. He just totally whiffed on a block and Bichelle got sacked and it was like a 12-yard loss.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bad miss. And
Yeah.
you can't do that in an Andy Reid offense. You have to be able to block. And to whiff that bad, against a group of people that you should be better than, because Ronald Jones, was supposed to be a starting caliber running back.
Yeah.
And for him to whiff that bad against third stringers, it really does not help his case.
No. And we talked about this on last week's show that I thought he was probably going to get traded or cut. And I still have that feeling. I mean, again, I don't know if this was a situation that he didn't have the same offensive line that he's used to playing with, starting because he was practicing with the ones a lot. But I, I don't know, man. He just didn't look good. And honestly, CEH didn't look that good to me. Maybe it was an off day for him. I really don't know, but he didn't look that great. And Gore, of course, he had the fumble, and uh, he just didn't look good.
Not
So
only did he have the fumble, though, he also dropped 2 passes in that 2-minute drill before
yeah,
the end of the second quarter. Now, I will say they are, quote, good drops because, when you're in the 2-minute drill and you have those little dump down passes and you're in tight coverage, it's
yeah,
better to just have those balls hit the ground
yeah,
because you're going to waste time just getting the 2 yards and then trying to reset the ball.
yeah,
So those are good drops, but man, still not good for you to see, to go on your resume to have you dropping passes that were really, right there in his hands. So
yeah, yeah. I
you
agree with
can't
you.
you can't be dropping balls and then the fumble, not good for Gore.
No, no, not at all. But I will say the defense looks completely different. They look rejuvenated. They look like a totally different defense. Everybody on the line looks great. Willie Gay is just coming out of his shoes. Nick Bolton. Uh, I noticed that they had Snead playing outside today, which that was something they were going to try. He's better. He's a better slot corner because he's got safety tendencies, but um, they did have him playing outside today, and that's, I mean, it's all an experiment. It's all, what they want to do to see what guys can get used to and what they can and can't do, um, or what they're best at, I should say. Snead's an all-around player. He's not going anywhere, that's for sure. But um, it was different to see him playing that much on the outside. Everybody seems to be gelling, and that is the biggest thing. My biggest concern is them gelling, and they are. I mean, even the offense. I mean, Mahomes, you didn't even see Juju, and Mahomes was 6 for 7, 60 yards and a touchdown, and that lasted all of 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So I mean, and a lot of that was ate up because of the run. It didn't, the runs that really didn't happen, but or didn't produce much. But he and even Bichelle, I mean, he had that rocket into the end zone that I don't know if we had a wide receiver last year could have caught that ball. You know, other than Kelsey maybe, but I mean, when you really think about it, that was a great pass and a great catch. It just seems like they're the 19 Chiefs all over again. Happy, enjoying playing, knowing they're good, knowing what they can accomplish. And I feel sorry for the rest of the NFL that doubted them because they're just going to continue to get better. I mean, it just is what it is. That's a scary ass football team. No matter how you look at it, that is one scary ass football team. When you got offensive power like we have, and then combine that with a defense that is showing out. Oh Lord, I don't know, brother. It's just
Yeah.
going to be a spooky time for everybody else.
I put this in my article and I was just like, there was always 2 or 3 or 4 red helmets around the football on
Yeah,
defense.
yeah,
I mean, I started marking down how many times I saw Willie Gay hitting the guy with the ball. I've got 4 X's next to him, and he didn't even play all game.
yeah,
Willie Gay was there. I mean, he was there
yeah,
hitting the guy with the ball. And the defensive back, I mean, we gave up some deep plays, but the ones that we gave up, it was good coverage. Nobody
yeah.
blew an assignment
No,
in the deep, and that's what I was worried about. You've got all these young corners coming in, and I know they're not playing a very complex defense or offense, right? But there was a couple of times we saw the Bears running pick moves to try and get corners to fall over themselves, and they were able to stick in man coverage.
yeah,
So, and it was all of them. It was all the rookies and young guys were able to maintain man coverage, and it kind of just blew my mind to see how well those defensive backs were playing, just
yeah,
because of how young this group is, and they haven't really had that much time together. So,
yeah,
I was so happy to see the way this defensive back group, even though they didn't walk away with any big stats or anything. It was just really mind blowing to see how good the defensive backs played.
Yeah, and thinking, and honestly, with the the big stats right now, that's the last thing I would worry about. I would be more concerned if they weren't able to hold anyone to, I don't know the last time we held somebody to no points that long. I mean, I really don't remember that. We don't normally do that. It was 14-0 for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's just not normal or that hasn't, I shouldn't say it's not normal, but it hasn't been our MO for the last, what, 5, 6 years. I mean, we just haven't been there. So we got to a point at time that we were, holding people to 13, 14 points for a short period of time, but it wasn't, it wasn't as dominant as it was today. And I know this is preseason and everybody's going to say it's just preseason, but this is where you see your talent. This is where you evaluate your talent. And we saw a lot of what Veach has done to build that defense. And honestly, man, think about, I was talking about this on Spaces, but this is one thing that I absolutely love about how we have done this. Veach builds this team in pieces and keeps us competitive. He keeps us in that Super Bowl run every year. For the last 2 years, he has rebuilt a portion of the team that makes us even better and still in Super Bowl contention, where everybody else has fire sales. Every 2, 3 years, 4 years, they're having a fire sale. Miami, the Jets, all these guys are doing this shit, dumping their quarterbacks after 2 years, firing their head coach after 2 years with a winning, with a winning record. All these things that these guys do, and Veach just methodically finds these diamonds in the rough that can fill the spots and play dominant football and learn the playbooks, both sides of the ball. It just solidifies how great of a GM he is. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, and 2 years ago, he rebuilt the offensive line. That was a huge thing going in the offseason. It was like, we got to rebuild an offensive line. We got embarrassed in the Super Bowl. We lost our two tackles who have been great pieces, for a long time in Kansas City. And then he rebuilt that in one offseason. He went out and he found guys like Creed Humphrey in the draft and was
Trey
just able to
Smith.
and could just completely rebuild an offensive line. And then this offseason, he did two different parts of the team. He rebuilt a wide receiver room and he rebuilt not just the cornerback room, but also the safety room.
Yeah, and the
So,
defensive line. Really,
so
when you
you've
think
got,
about it.
yeah, and he rebuilt really three spots without going out. And it's not like, we're not the Jets or the Jaguars. It's not like you can go out and buy all of this talent because you aren't paying a quarterback, right? He went out and he rebuilt it through draft picks and signing, free agents that have been overlooked by other teams or signing guys to 1-year prove it deals. It was just like a little bit of everything to help rebuild this team. And I should say reload, not rebuild, but everything seems to come together. And I'm just so impressed with how quickly the team seems to work together.
Yeah.
We had Spagnuolo came out and said, I think last week, that he said that this team could take 4 or 5 weeks to really gel together because of how young the talent is. And when he said that, I was kind of like freaked out when he said that, because a Spagnuolo defense, already does take time to come together. But when
Yeah.
your coach comes out and admits it, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
But then to see them play today and how well these players were in the scheme, not blowing assignments, getting past the offensive line, holding down man coverage in a league that is moving further and further away from man coverage because offenses can maneuver around it more than ever.
Yeah.
So to see it being successful just was great.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a sight, that's for sure. I mean, it was just a pleasant sight. I mean, it's something that we haven't seen in a long time. And Spagnuolo's defenses, going back to, I mean, I could go back as long as you want to go back. They always take, whether they play together for 2 or 3 years or whether they are all brand new, they take about 7 to 8 weeks before they're really gelling well. This defense probably took that as, okay, you think it's going to take us 5 weeks? Let's try one. And that's kind of what they did. Now, granted, I'm not saying they played the best team today. offensively, but it's still a football team that can score on you. And you got a second year quarterback in there that, I think he should be a little bit further ahead than he is, but I guess I don't know. He seems like he has a case of the nerves. He always seems like that to me. And I don't know what I watched a lot of him last year, and he seems like he always is. He's always nervous. He's always overthinking the plays, overthinking the passes, overthinking everything. He's just not calming down, looking at taking his reads and going for it. And that's going to hurt him if he doesn't quit doing that soon. He may not keep that starting position, but we'll just have to see how that goes. At this point, they still are a good football team. They'll probably get better. I think they were in a little longer than our starting guys were. Didn't they stay in like 3 series or something like that? 3 or 4 series, maybe the first quarter. I don't know. I don't remember now how long it was.
I know their starters were, at least on the offense, they were in for at least 2. There might have been some of their main guys in for their 3rd series.
Yeah,
maybe
because
like a quarter and a half.
Yeah, because I know their quarterback, I can't think of his name right now. I don't know why, but he was 4 for 7 for 48 yards.
Justin
Fields. Yeah, he was 4 for 7, 48 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions, which for him, that's pretty good. Compared to last year, I should say, because he just seemed to have a really hard time last year grasping everything. And I hope for his sake, I actually hope he does well, because he seems like a pretty humble guy. And I hope he succeeds. But we played a tough defense today, and their pass rush and their rush defense is strong. That was kind of proven today with their rush defense. Their first team run defense was strong. Now, I will say that doesn't bode well for CEH, because he didn't seem to do a whole lot, but nobody did besides Pacheco, really. And that's going to be a decision that they're going to have to make. I mean, we talked about this last week, that we thought there was a few of them, or just on the last show, we thought there was a few of them that were going to go. And from what I've kind of heard, there was a couple that they had already kind of planned on going away from, but that preseason game might have hurt them instead of helped them when it comes to trade value. I mean, I don't know if there's a trade value there with Rojo right now. I don't know if there's a trade value with Gore. If they wanted to trade him today, I don't know what they would get out of him.
Well, I think with Gore, I think, there's definitely less there. But with Rojo, I'm sure it's football. So before the preseason starts, or before the regular season starts, somebody will probably lose a starting running back. And you could do the, conditional 6th round pick or whatever.
Yeah.
Those background draft picks, I'm sure you can get something for.
Yeah.
If you really are looking for it. Now, the 16th, which is, I think, next Tuesday. Yeah. The Chiefs have to cut 5 players.
Yeah, they got to be down to 85.
So we'll be interested. It'll be interesting to see if one of those players is in that cut.
In that cut.
Yeah.
I got a weird feeling. I'm just telling you, I'm going to find out. I'll see if I can make some phone calls and see if I can hear any rumors going around. But man, I got a weird feeling we're not going to see a couple of running backs, at least one for sure.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if one of those 2 running backs played themselves off this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I mean, it kind of is what it is when it comes to that, because we ran the ball a lot just to see what these running backs were going to do, a lot more than we normally do. And it's going to be interesting to find out who, or what, I guess not so much who, but what they've seen in each player that would keep them here. But I have a feeling Pacheco, and I said this before, he might be making his spot for the number 1 running back.
Yeah.
And if he calms his nerves a little bit and just realizes that this game, especially if he plays with the first team offensive line, he's going to see what a difference it's going to make moving forward. And I think he's a star. He's a star in the making. That kid is a star in the making right now. He's got that it factor, and he's got a lot. He wants to prove it. That's what you see. I love late round picks. I love the guys that go undrafted because those are the guys that have so much to prove and don't have that giant chip on their shoulder. So, and he's got it. I mean, he's got the it factor. He made that very clear in training camp and in that game today. So, what'd you think of the secondary as a whole?
I like I said, young corners impressed me. Just how well they were able to manage the scheme. It's hard to play man coverage in this league now,
It is definitely.
and how well they paired up. I don't care, what wide receivers. I don't care what team it is. I don't care if it's the fourth or fifth string wide receiver out there. It's hard to play man coverage against wide receivers in the NFL because the rules benefit the offense.
Yeah.
And even though they gave up some big plays, even the plays they gave those big yards up on, it wasn't because the coverage was blown. It was because they threw a ball up and the wide receiver made a play.
Yeah.
So I was just really impressed with the corners. Generally speaking, if you aren't talking about a safety, that's a good thing, because safeties are there to clean up messes.
Yeah.
And if you aren't talking about, a safety making a play, that's probably good because your linebackers are doing their jobs or they're, other people are doing what they need to do.
Yep.
So
I agree with you.
I'm happy with the way, that the defense as a whole was playing. There is a guy that I feel like I don't remember if we talked about him on the last show or not. But Justin Watson really played well today.
Yes, he did. He
And
played very well.
I don't know if I've given an opinion on Justin Watson before, and I feel bad if I haven't because man, the guy played good today. He played really well, and he's definitely a guy that might sneak his way back onto that, roster bubble conversation about making that back end spot and that wide receiver room.
Yeah. Yeah. He had a hell of a game. And he's another one that you just, another diamond in the rough style player that you just grab and just somehow magically fits within the system, or he seems to so far. And I don't think he would have been out there this long if he didn't. Did we see Josh Gordon at all today? Was he out
Yes,
there? Okay.
he was out there in like the late third quarter,
Yeah.
and I think he had like two short passes and nothing significant.
Yeah. I'm wondering what their plan is with him. I hope somehow he either makes the roster or makes the practice squad. I guess a lot of it depends on whether they decide to go with 3 running backs and stick with 7 wide receivers, or if they go 6 wide receivers and 4 running backs. I guess it really depends on how they plan on doing that. But I would love to see him somehow with his veteran presence. I think he would be a good person to have on this team. And I was hoping that he would really play up to his potential. We still haven't seen that yet, but it doesn't necessarily mean he can't. It just means that we haven't seen it yet. It's one game. So
Yeah.
we don't know what he's going to be able to do, but I'm hoping and praying that he is able to make this team because I really got a lot of faith in that kid. I'm hoping that I say kid, he's 31 years old, but I just want him to make it. I don't know why. I mean, I feel like he's been kind of shunned over the last few years, and it really put a dark cloud over him that he really shouldn't have had. I mean, hell, they don't even test for weed anymore, and they're making a big deal about, I mean, the guy got indefinitely suspended for smoking weed. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. But I mean, whether you do or you don't do it, that's your choice. I personally don't, but that doesn't mean I'm like anti-weed or anything. I just think that they should have really looked at it a little bit. I mean, why would you give somebody an indefinite suspension over that? It's not like he's, snorting lines of crack or something. He's, it just, to me, it was kind of mind boggling. And I know there was some PED issues, but that was mostly, actually it was GNC stuff. I mean, it was just things that you can buy over the counter that just mimic a lot of what steroids do. you can buy a lot of things at GNC that mimic it. It may show up in your system. So I'm just hoping that he makes it and he does a good job and continues to move forward with his career because he's got the body of a 20-year-old. I know he's got the mind. It's just a matter of getting him out there and getting him acclimated to this style of offense. So, but Bichelle looks really good, and it's no wonder they tried to snag him off the practice squad last year.
Yeah, they were talking about that in the booth today about how he was on the practice squad, but then as the year went on, they had to move him onto the roster so that people wouldn't snag him off the practice squad.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see, I feel like when Chad Henne's done, the Chiefs aren't going to have to go out and sign another veteran.
No.
They're going to they're just going to move Bichelle up, and he's going to be that guy.
I agree with you. And I think this might be Henne's last year. He's 37 now and he's played the backup role a long time.
I don't know, man. He's got a pretty sweet gig.
He does. There's no doubt about it. But if they want to keep Bichelle, they're going to have to probably move on from Henne at the end of the year because he's not going to stay a third string quarterback forever. So, or on the practice squad. He's too good for that. He could be a backup somewhere at this point. So I think they're going to have to make a decision on that end of it too at the end of the season. But I think, yeah, played Henne today, but I don't know, man. Our first and second string team looks really good. We got depth all over the field. And that's what makes me, I think, more excited than anything is we got so much depth. I don't know that we've ever had this much depth on both sides of the ball. And we've got it all the way around. And we got a great special teams. I mean, when you really think about it, our special teams is really going to shine this year again.
You want to talk about depth? We've got depth at the kicker position now.
Oh, that was
because
fantastic.
of Justin Reed.
That was
that was so awesome.
That was so sweet. I mean, he was so excited too, man. How about the excitement that he had?
He was so excited, like going onto the field. You could see him like lining up. He made the kick, and then he was just like running around,
to
going to everybody. And then they had the sideline reporter talk to him, and then during the after game press conference, he was still smiling about it. He was so happy about it. I mean, it's just a cool thing to see, and he nailed it too. There was no question about it.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't the prettiest kick, but it was there.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess he has that. It did knuckleball a little bit, and it had a slight curve, but that's okay. The funny thing was that I guess he's kicked before. I guess he's got.
He was a soccer player, like growing all throughout high school. Is that he played soccer, and now football, like kickers now, in order to get more distance, they're transitioning to kick the football more like soccer players by like kicking with the top of their foot instead of like with their toes. They're kicking like with the top of their foot, like soccer players do.
Well, I tell you what, he's our emergency kicker, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He did his job. So, and Andy was out there having fun with him. And I think that's great when they can have fun. That was almost the highlight for me, other than the defense playing so well, is the fact that everybody seemed to be having fun. And that's what we didn't have last year. We just didn't have it. There was a lot of misery in that team last year, more than a lot of people know, but I'm just glad they got it fixed. I'm just happy they fixed the problem. Andy looks really good. I don't know if anybody paid attention, but Andy's lost exactly what they told him to lose. He's down about 40, 50 pounds. He's looking good. He looks like he's happy. He's walking around better. I don't know, man. This just looks like a rejuvenated football team. And that's scary to think about. Can you get any better than what you already are? And then you do this? Holy mother of God. I feel bad for the rest of the NFL. I mean, there's some teams out there that are definitely going to be a challenge, but I got to tell you, I see it, man. I could just see it, and they're just different.
I mean, this AFC is definitely loaded, but the Chiefs are not going to go. They're not going to go down easy. They're going to be in there until the final round.
Oh yeah.
I think that the only other note that I have is that Sky Moore with his toe drag swag he had in that 2-minute drill.
That was beautiful.
But
he looked like a veteran. I mean, he looked like a vet. So,
and it's important for to see a rookie do that because the rules are different.
Yeah.
You know, you only need 1 foot in college.
Exactly.
But that's all the notes that I have.
Well, I tell you what, man. Sky Moore looks like he's definitely going to be on the roster. NVS proved himself. We know Juju's not going anywhere. You know, we saw Cornell Powell at the end of the game, basically. Not a lot of them, which I kind of had a strange feeling. We talked about this last week, if you remember. I said I wasn't real sure about Cornell Powell because I had heard that he was doing okay and then he kind of slipped off and they didn't even play him till the end of the game. And he was playing with the third string guys.
He was in there basically the same amount of time Josh Gordon was. They were out there the same amount of time.
Yeah. So that kind of scares me. I mean, it doesn't really scare me, but it makes me, I guess it just makes you question what they're going to do at that wide receiver position.
Yeah, I figure there's 5 spots pretty much locked in. Juju, Sky Moore, MVS, Mecole, and I think Justin Watson has played his way on the roster after today. So maybe they probably are going to need 1, maybe 2 more.
Yeah.
That depends on the numbers, the numbers game that they have to play for the roster. So you've got like 8 guys fighting for 1 spot.
Or maybe 2, just
maybe 2.
Yeah. But you still got Omar Bayless in the mix, which I've been really hoping he makes it. He's a phenomenal player. And if you get a chance, look at some of his film, he's good. I hope he makes it. And I really, honestly, I still want Josh to make it. I mean, I know people probably don't think he will. And in the back of my mind, I probably have it in my mind that he's not going to make it. But, you know, my emotion kicks in, I guess, more than anything, and I just want him to be able to prove himself. So, but other than that, man, I mean, I see the only real problem right now is running back. I don't know about you, but it didn't look good to me today at all. Other than Pacheco, it didn't look good. And did we see McKinnon at all?
No, I didn't see him out there.
One play,
he might have been out there for like literally a couple of snaps, but I didn't see him out there at all.
Yeah. That's the only real kind of, I guess, iffy spot that I seen today was the running backs.
I will be interested to see if the Chiefs use like Sky Moore or Mecole like a running back, specifically more like Sky Moore, to see if he lines up as a running back and takes handoffs.
You might see it. They did it with Tyreek a lot. So
right. So I wonder if Sky Moore, steps up and does that. I'm not worried about the running back room. If we're being honest, the Chiefs don't really use their running backs. If it's 3rd and 1, we have a fullback. We've seen the tight end quarterback sneak. We have the wide receiver weapons and the brain of Andy Reid to make plays. So I'm not worried. If that's the weakest spot on the team, what an amazing team.
Oh my God. Yeah, especially in this day and age when you're, running backs. I mean, I'm not saying they're not needed, but they are, they're a little easier obtained than wide receivers in this league.
We
today.
are out of the LaDainian Tomlinson era of like where you have that back that does everything every year. Yeah. I know there are some players out there right now, Taylor and McCaffrey, and even to some extent, Henry in Tennessee. But the NFL has moved away from that to more of a committee style of running back. Yep. And I think the Chiefs, if you really look at it and compare it to other teams, I think we can be pretty happy with this running back room with Clyde, McKinnon, and Pacheco.
Yeah, those 3 would work. I mean, as long as Clyde doesn't get injured and he, gains more than 3 yards a carry, then yeah, I mean, it's going to be it would be fine. I still think they may make a move towards a different running back. I'm not sure yet. Clyde might. I mean, look, I think at this point, and this may be just me looking too far into this, but I think right now the only one that's really a lock is Pacheco. And I know that sounds crazy, but and McKinnon, I don't think either one of the other two guys have, or three guys, I should say, have a lock position for, I guess I should say, for a long period of time. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend on how well they step up and they play the game. And that's what's
Yeah,
going to be.
I'm gonna guess that as long as Brett Veach is the GM of this team, that the running back room is just going to turn over so quickly every year.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of agree. I think that, with the Kareem situation, I think they would have hung on to him and he'd still be here. And that honestly, I mean, I don't know if that's, we'll have to see what plays out with that. He may get a contract from Cleveland that makes him stay, but from everybody I've talked to, that's more of a ploy to get the hell out of there. So, because he knows they're not going to be able to pay him that kind of money, and that's what agents do. They they play the game like anybody else. Okay, well, if you want him to stay, give him 10 million a year. And give him a 5-year contract, $50 million deal,
Yeah,
which
and
he
that's
knows
not happening.
and that's not happening. So the days of the Zeke Elliott contract are over with for running backs. That was stupid. He's not done anything since then. He got a $90 million contract.
Well, and the way his contract is set up is that it's kind of like the Mahomes contract in that, when you hit that date, it guarantees the following year
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So that's why he's still on the Cowboys, is because it's just so expensive to get rid of him.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's gonna, but he's not on any kind of a bonus structure. So that's the hard. Well, I mean, to a degree, I should say, Mahomes' entire contract is bonus structure.
Right.
I mean, you could take his entire base salary and turn it into a bonus, and it doesn't affect the cap. But Zeke is not like that.
Yeah,
So the Cowboys are trapped with that kid,
that's
and
fine.
let him. I mean, I don't know where else he would go at this point and make more than what 2-3 million a year. I just don't see it. He hasn't done anything to prove himself. I mean, we'll have to see what he does this year, but so far he's beat up a security guard in Vegas, and his dogs attacked 4 people, but he's really not attacking anything. So, I mean, it is what it is. Michael Thomas isn't injured as bad as they thought he was going to be. So that's, I guess, or Zach Thomas, I'm sorry. So I guess that's kind of a good thing for him anyway. One question that was posed on the podcast, and I was going to ask you again about Cincinnati. I still believe they're going to regress. I don't think last year was a real year, given the fact that they lost to the teams that they lost to during the regular season. They lost to some really bad football teams. And I don't think they did enough this year. In fact, they really did nothing this year other than add a couple offensive linemen to contend with a healthy Ravens team. I mean, they barely won the division they were in, and that was with a depleted Ravens group. So, how do you think they're going to pan out this year?
Well, you sort of took my point with Baltimore. I think Baltimore is being underlooked because they did so poorly last year. They finished third in the division,
Yeah.
last in the division.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it was 8. I think they were 8-8 or something.
Yeah. So,
or 8
and they
and
were
9.
they were just blown up by injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the team where it was like half the team was on IR at some point. It was an insane year. And so, the Ravens falling, Roethlisberger still being there, and with Baker Mayfield's shoulder, it just opened the door for the Bengals to, take that division.
Yeah.
So I think that even though, Deshaun's going to get suspended, I still think the Browns have a lot of talent. So they're not going to be a pushover in that division. You've got Baltimore coming back at, full strength and being the team that they are, a really good football team. I don't see how the Bengals can just walk over the AFC North. The offensive line, we'll see what happens there. I mean, it can't really be any worse than last year. That's just how bad it was. So their offensive line will probably be better. But the question is now teams have been able to see what Joe Burrow can do. They have a whole year's worth of year film. They have more film on him
Yeah,
from what they did last year. So how are they going to adjust to that? Because we know this league is not just about what can you do, but how can you adjust. So
correct.
we'll see what happens there. The Bengals will probably make the playoffs, and they'll be maybe the top wild card team, maybe the second wild card team.
Yeah.
I don't see them winning that division. If I was a betting man, aka if Missouri would pass betting laws, I would bet the Ravens to win that division.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I almost feel like you might see Cincinnati in that third. I don't know, man. Cleveland, it's really going to depend on a lot with Cleveland. If this appeal continues on, Deshaun Watson can play. That's the weird part about it. I mean, if they let the appeal go on or he appeals it again, I guess he could play. And I mean, so if he comes out and he plays like he did 18 months ago, I'm telling you, that guy's got a lot of talent. I mean, I've been saying this for years, and I thought he was probably second behind the Mahomes when it comes to talent in this league. And if he comes out and he plays the way he used to, and he is able to start, it's going to be a different game for Cleveland. But they still have talent. They still have a good backup. They still have, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. It really is. But that division's strange. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are in for a rude awakening, and their fan base as well. That's just my opinion. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know where Pittsburgh's going to land. I mean, what do you think Pittsburgh's going to do?
With Mike Tomlin, I want to say that they're still going to be a good team, right? To still go, 9-7, 8-1.
Yeah.
I do, because he's such a good coach. He might be one of the most underrated head coaches in the league.
Yeah.
Genuinely speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's still talent on that roster too. They're not a bad football team, but with just how stacked the AFC is, I'm not so sure if that talent is going to turn into wins.
Yeah.
So
that's what's concerning.
They will probably finish fourth in that division, and Mike Tomlin will probably lose his never losing season, certificate. But I still think that team's not going to be a pushover.
Yeah.
I still think it's going to be a good, well-coached football team.
Well, that's the one thing about, you're right. Tomlin's a good coach, and he's very good at coaching everybody up and getting them ready to go. I don't know what their talent's going to be like. I mean, they got a couple of good wide receivers, and I don't know what their quarterback's going to do. But I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see. I don't know what their defense is even like right now.
Well, Brian Flores is there too. And we saw what he did with the Dolphins over the past couple of years.
True.
The Dolphins were over succeeding for the past couple of years with Brian Flores. So you've got Mike Tomlin and Flores in the same building.
Yeah.
You're two great football minds inside that building.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think it's really going to come down to what does their quarterback do?
That's really true. I mean, that's what it's going to, and I think, given the fact what Flores was able to do with Miami, maybe he can help their quarterback situation as well. Although he wasn't able to do as much with Tua as people assumed, because he had to throw Fitzpatrick in there a lot, and he started a lot over Tua. We'll just have to see. I mean, you're right. I think it's all going to fall down on their quarterback situation. So, and it wasn't Rudolph that was there, and then.
Yeah, because Rudolph got bonked on the head.
Yeah, that's right. So who is it now?
They drafted Pickett.
Yeah, I knew about him, but who's they plan on starting? Remember?
I think they didn't they sign.
Didn't they sign somebody, someone? But I can't remember who it was. Was it Joe Flacco?
No, Joe. I think he plays for the Jets. It's that guy from the Bear, Mitch Trubisky.
Oh,
Yeah, that's who it is.
well, I mean, they got they got a quarterback issue then, because between Rudolph and Trubinsky, both of those, neither one of those guys right now are top level. You know, I don't think they're starting caliber quarterbacks right now. So I don't know what they're going to do on that end of it, um, but you never know. I mean, maybe Flores can turn it around for both of them, and Tomlin as well. We just have to see how that plays out. I think Miami's in for a rude awakening too, because that's not a slouch division, and all the hype and all the talk and all the Tyreek talk and all this and that and the other. I think you still got Belichick and his ways of doing things. You still got the Bills that are the Bills, even though they didn't look that great today. Well, at least from what I seen of them. I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough division too. So, and when you got a Belichick team, it's always tough. Period. It's always tough. So, I'm not worried about the Raiders. I'm not worried about the Chargers in our division. I'm definitely not worried about the Broncos. I guess if I had to put a grade on who I worry more about in our division, I would almost have to say the Chargers out of everybody else. And that's just because Herbert seems to play very well against us, but he also played against a different defense. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. Russell Wilson, to me, until he proves it, he's still the 8-game guy. I mean, kind of that's
You mean Mr. Unlimited himself?
Mr. Unlimited. I do everything 3 times.
Oh my God, he's so cringe.
Oh man, dude, that right there, that statement there, and that whole conversation just, I don't know, man. It just gave me a stomach ache. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it was like, good God, can you be any more arrogant? But he, I guess he could, but he pretty much portrayed exactly who he is right there. Um, I mean, I know he loses 3 times in a row because he's done that. So I think he's thrown, a few times he's thrown some incompletions 3 or 4 times in a row. So let's see if he can, see what he does in Denver. But I don't think they built that team up enough to help him any more than Seattle did. And they definitely don't have a DK Metcalf. So I don't know. We're going to have to see. They got a lot of injured players too. So we'll have to see how that plays out for those poor guys. But the poor Denver fans that really think this is the year for them because they got Russell Wilson. So we'll have to see. It was kind of surprising to me that he wanted to come to this division, to be honest with you, because
He just wanted to get out of Seattle.
Well, I get it, but in the same aspect, he probably had a lot of other options besides the AFC West.
Well, it's not like he signed here, or signed in Denver. He got traded.
That's true too. But I guess he could have sat as well, but which he's not going to do. He's too arrogant and too, I guess, arrogant and competitive at the same time. But I would. It was a little surprising to me that he seemed to be happy coming here. I guess to a degree, and that may just be a show. When you're going up against Mahomes and even Herbert, for that matter, that's 2 quarterbacks that you definitely don't want to try to measure yourself on because you're a veteran. I mean, it's just he's not in the same league as either one of them, in my opinion. I mean, him and David Carr may be or Derek Carr may be in the same league, but Herbert's probably the second best. Well, he is the second best quarterback in our division. As far as real talent and that no give up attitude that he has, never die attitude. Plays until the clock strikes 0. He doesn't have these meltdowns. He doesn't cry. I mean, we've seen Derek Carr cry, 30, 40 times over the last 8 years. So I know I got at least 12 pictures of him crying in my phone. And so we'll just have to see what happens, man. But it was an interesting game today. It was nice to see our guys really gel up and have fun doing it. Andy was having fun. The one question I did pose on the space is I didn't see Eric Bieniemy, but everybody else said they did.
I can confirm his presence on the sideline.
He was on the sidelines. Okay. I didn't see him, but I wasn't really looking for him as much as I was looking at the players, watching the plays, the different schemes and the different plays that they were running. But we'll have to see if that's a preseason thing or if that's a season long thing. But and maybe they mended their ways, got their heads together, and maybe Bieniemy finally realized that, hey, I'm on my last rope here, so the strings are starting to snap. I don't know, but or it could just be a preseason thing. I just don't know yet. We'll have to find out from that perspective, but because I was told he was probably going to be in the booth during the season, so we'll have to see how that goes. But with that being said, man, if that's all you got, that's all I got. I just want to talk about this game and how great these players are.
Yeah, I think the only best loss of the season.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, best loss of the season, right? That was a perfect ending to this show. So we will be back Tuesday, and we'll talk more about anything that is related Chiefs or NFL, and we will hopefully have some better news as far as what's going on in the running back room. We'll try to find out some information for you guys and spit it out when we can. But that being said, thanks, man, for coming on.
No problem.
Caleb had some things to do today, and you always come on anyway, but Caleb's always on the show and he had some stuff to do. So we you're the co-host right now, and we really appreciate everything you do for Chiefs Focus, and your writing is phenomenal. Everybody needs to give Quinten a follow because he does a hell of a job with the writing, and along with all the other guys that are with Chiefs Focus right now. They're a committed group. As I will say this before we end this show, we have a committed group of guys that don't they remind me of the Chiefs because they're not all about me. They're not an I team. They're a team. They use the letter E is in the word team for these guys, and they've done a hell of a job. And we're building because of them. No one else. It's because of these guys. So we really appreciate everything they're doing, and we hope you guys do too. We will talk to you on Tuesday. Peace out.